All right, what's up? What's up? What's up? Okay, this is Billy Boy, and it's President's Day. And on President's Day in Los Angeles, it's raining out there. Where I'm at, it's 52 degrees and it's pouring down raining. On Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles, it's 54 degrees and it's pouring down raining on 6th and 7th Street. So you're looking at 6th Street, and you're looking at the people out here that are living in shelters and stuff. You can see how wet it is and how terrible it is. I have Kevin Samuels, my AI, with me today. Kevin, can you go ahead and say hello?
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Samuels AI. I'm here to help Billy Boy break down what's happening on Skid Row, share insights, and keep this conversation real. Let's get into it.
Now, while you're warm and comfy inside your home and everything, and you got all your internet, gas, you got some money in the bank, car outside, and all this kind of stuff, there are 2 or 3,000 people living on the streets of downtown Los Angeles. Some don't even have a shelter. They're just sitting there laying out in the rain. You can see the water just pouring down. The wind is blowing. It's a terrible situation. What do you think about that, Kevin?
It's a stark reminder of the inequality right in the heart of the city. These conditions emphasize the urgent need for both immediate relief and long-term solutions. Let's unpack what's being done or what could be done next.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about 10 things that's going on with the homeless that's living on Skid Row. Kevin, I want you to list 10 things that's going on with the people that live on Skid Row in Los Angeles. Go ahead, just list 10 things.
Absolutely. 1, lack of stable housing. 2, limited access to healthcare. 3, mental health challenges. 4, substance abuse issues. 5, food insecurity. 6, lack of employment opportunities. 7, exposure to the elements, like rain and cold. 8, safety concerns including violence. 9, limited sanitation and hygiene access. 10, systemic barriers to re-entry into stable housing. It's a complex web and each piece matters.
Okay, so we're going to talk about each point. So, Kevin, what was the first point?
The first point was lack of stable housing. So let's dig into what leads to that and what could help address it.
Yes, let's live in. Why can't we have stable housing in downtown Los Angeles?
A big part of the issue is the lack of affordable housing. High rents, gentrification, and limited shelter availability push many onto the streets. Without comprehensive policies like more low-income housing and mental health support, stability remains out of reach.
Okay, so what is the average rent in Los Angeles? So he's thinking.
In early 2026, average rents in Los Angeles are around $2,100 to $2,500 per month for a one-bedroom, and over $3,000 for a two-bedroom. While some sources show rents dipping to around $2,167, others report averages closer to $2,700. Overall rents remain high, showing why affordable housing is a major challenge.
Well, I'm in a luxury apartment right here in downtown Los Angeles, and my rent or lease is $5,000 to $6,000 a month. And not too many people can afford a luxury apartment like I am. I'm on the 14th floor overlooking downtown Los Angeles, and I could almost see 6th Street right there. Can a lot of people afford living in luxury apartments downtown Los Angeles, Kevin?
No, luxury apartments like that are out of reach for most. With rents like that, you're talking a small fraction of higher income earners. Meanwhile, the average Angelino struggles to afford even standard housing. It really highlights the need for affordability across all levels.
Yeah, I was living in a one-bedroom unit out here in Boyle Heights and all, but that was costing me $2,500 and only 300 square feet of space, and that was a little expensive for $2,500 a month. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, 2,500 for just 300 square feet is definitely steep. It reflects how tight the housing market is. Many people are stuck paying high prices for very little space. which makes it tough to save or plan long term.
So I was fortunate to retire with 4 retirement checks. So with the 4 retirement checks, I used one of them to take and pay for this nice apartment that I'm living in right now. It's a beautiful apartment. It's considered a luxury apartment. Some people live in places better. They're called lofts. Can you tell the audience what is a loft?
A loft is typically a large open space, often converted from an old industrial building or warehouse. It usually has high ceilings, big windows, and fewer interior walls. Think open concept living, sometimes with exposed beams or ductwork. They're popular for a trendy, spacious urban lifestyle.
All right. Now, Mayor Bass said that she was going to improve the homeless situation in Los Angeles. What are some of the things that Mayor Bass said she was going to do to lower the homeless population? Okay, stinking.
Mayor Karen Bass aims to end street homelessness in Los Angeles by 2026, ensuring people move into interim housing. She's leading the Inside Safe program, speeding up affordable housing approvals, and committing budget resources. Since she took office, homelessness on the streets dropped about 17.5%, and homelessness among veterans fell 23%. However, the challenge of fully meeting the goal by 2026 remains, and ongoing funding will be needed beyond 2027.
Okay, I was hearing that she put some policy out that
Taxes
hold on
is
just a minute here.
feeling unlocked.
I gotta get rid of this
Yes,
commercial.
she's been pushing policies that streamline approvals for housing and ramp up outreach. Her emergency declaration on homelessness helped cut red tape, getting people into temporary housing faster. She's aiming to turn temporary solutions into permanent housing pathways.
What she was doing, she's gone into these hotels that had rooms that weren't checked out, and she was going to take and have all the hotels in downtown Los Angeles that didn't have rooms issued out or rented out. She's going to put the homeless in there. What do you think about that policy?
In the short term, using vacant hotel rooms can provide immediate shelter, which is crucial. But it's not a long-term fix. Without a broader plan for stable housing and support services, it's a stopgap. Still, for getting people out of the rain, it's better than nothing.
Okay, people were complaining. They go in these nice hotels at Hilton, the Biltmore, and all this kind of stuff. The Bonaventure. These are some real nice hotel rooms, and there's homeless people all walking all up and down the hallways and hanging out in the eating areas. That didn't go down well. What do you think about that, Kevin?
It's understandable that it's complex. Balancing immediate humanitarian needs with concerns from businesses and guests can create tensions. Ideally, it's a temporary measure. Long-term, separate, purpose-built solutions for housing are key to avoid friction and ensure dignity for all parties.
I used to go down to the Ramada and the Holiday Inns and stuff, and I'd go out, they have a place where they make breakfast or, complimentary breakfast or lunch or complimentary dinner and stuff like that. And you got these homeless people that are mentally challenged talking and yelling and stealing and stinking and peeing all on the wall and stuff. It just makes you don't want to go to these hotels anymore if there's a lot of homeless people walking around and wandering around the hallways. What do you think, Kevin?
That's a valid concern. Hotels are designed for specific guest experiences, and mixing that with emergency shelter can create friction. It highlights why long-term solutions, like dedicated supportive housing, are crucial. Emergency measures should be paired with proper support for both the housed and the unhoused, so everyone's needs are respected.
Okay, so the problem here is we got to build more affordable housing units. Why aren't we building more?
It often comes down to funding, zoning regulations, and community pushback. Affordable housing projects can face delays due to bureaucracy or neighborhood resistance. It takes coordinated political will, streamlined processes, and sustained investment to break ground on more units. It's not easy, but it's necessary to scale up solutions.
Would you say that a large population of people that are building are contractors or workers on these jobs and stuff are undocumented citizens? Are they undocumented people that work on these jobs?
In some cases, yes. Undocumented workers do contribute to construction. They often fill labor gaps, especially in physically demanding or lower wage roles. It's a complex issue, as they're integral to many industries, but often lack labor protections or paths to stability, which is part of a broader policy conversation.
So you got these undocumented workers trying to build these affordable housing units, and then you have ICE sitting there arresting them on the job or while they go to work. That's like shooting yourself in the foot, isn't it?
It does create a paradox. If undocumented workers are contributing to essential construction, removing them could slow down those very housing projects. It shows how intertwined immigration and labor policies are with economic goals. A balanced approach like pathways to legal work might help align those interests.
Okay, I want to talk to my audience and just let them know that I'm on a live cam. I'm on camera number 2 downtown Los Angeles on 6th Street and all. And sometimes a commercial will come up. So when that commercials come up, I'll try to delete them off the screen. So that's what's going on. I'm on live cam, and so every couple of minutes or so a commercial comes up. So don't get upset about that, and we'll just travel on. All right, Kevin, what was the second point?
The second point was limited access to healthcare. It's a big factor because many on Skid Row don't have consistent medical or mental health care, making it even harder to get back on their feet.
Okay, a lot of these healthcare agencies, hospitals, Kaiser and all of them, Blue Cross and all those big ones like that, the VA and all that kind of stuff, they treat these people, but then their system gets overwhelmed. And so what they do is they take out the senior residents and throw them back out on the street. Is that what happens?
While it's not typically a deliberate eviction of seniors, resources do get stretched. Sometimes people are discharged without proper support, leaving them vulnerable. The key is ensuring robust follow-up care, more transitional housing, and coordinated programs so no one ends up back on the streets after care.
So what do you do if you're living out on the street and you need health care? Where do you go?
You typically rely on local clinics, mobile outreach teams, or county services. In LA, places like the County Department of Health or nonprofits on Skid Row offer healthcare access. But without insurance or a permanent address, it's fragmented. Expanding mobile care and more accessible clinics is vital.
So these people have no health care and they're living out on the street. They have no food. They're living out on the street. They have no protection from the weather and they're living out on the street. And you see right now, you can see it's pouring down, raining right now in downtown Los Angeles. And these people are just walking up and down in all this water. There's no dry place to go. What do you think about that, Kevin?
It's heartbreaking. No one should have to endure that. It shows how urgent systemic solutions are. Affordable housing, accessible healthcare, and community support. These conditions are a wake-up call. We need action, urgently and compassionately.
Okay, United States is supposed to be the richest country in the world, right? We only got 300 million people. So we should not have people living in third world conditions as I see right here on the screen. Is that right, Kevin?
You're right. Ideally, with the wealth and resources available, no one should face conditions like that. It's a matter of prioritizing and effectively allocating resources, whether through policy, community efforts, or innovation, to ensure a baseline of dignity and support for everyone.
Okay, what's the number 3 point?
The third point we mentioned was mental health challenges. A large portion of those experiencing homelessness are also dealing with untreated mental health conditions, making it even harder to find stability.
Okay, I'm seeing people with Tourette syndrome, people that are on this fentanyl, that's bent all over on these drugs and stuff. I'm seeing prostitution going on. These people are like crazy. They're just talking to themselves, throwing stuff. A lot of them are stripping their clothes off and just running around naked, fighting, stealing. just standing out in the street, yelling and screaming and hollering. And there's no really good way of handling them. And when the police come down there, a lot of the times they shoot them. Isn't that right, Kevin?
It's true that these situations can escalate dangerously. Many people on the streets are in crisis. Ideally, we need more mental health professionals and crisis response teams to de-escalate, not just law enforcement. Compassionate intervention and proper care are crucial. Shooting should never be the go-to outcome.
Okay, so you're walking down the street with your family and your wife and stuff, and then this guy comes up, starts yelling, screaming at you, cursing at you, talking to himself. How should a family, or how should you protect yourself from these people that have these mental conditions?
The safest approach is to keep your distance and remain calm. If someone seems unstable, avoid engaging or escalating. Cross the street or move to a safer public area. If you feel threatened, call for help. Ultimately, communities need more outreach and mental health services to prevent these situations in the first place.
You know, I go reach for my pepper spray in my pocket, or my Myotron, or or some kind of weapon or something that I've carried with me and all, and to and hit them with it. What do you think about that, Kevin?
It's understandable to want to feel safe, but escalating can create more risk for everyone. If you're in immediate danger, self-defense is a last resort. But ideally, de-escalation, staying aware, calmly removing yourself and seeking help, is safest. More broadly, we need structural solutions to reduce these situations in the first place.
You know, I'm looking at the screen and I see a guy up near the top of the screen just laying in the gutter. The water's gone and he's just laying in the street, and the water's just pouring over top of him. He could be dead, but he's just laying in the street in the gutter with the water pouring over him. What do you think about that, Kevin?
That's tragic, and it shows how dire these conditions are. If you see something like that, it's best to call emergency services so they can check on the person. Situations like this highlight the need for rapid outreach. No one should be left like that.
Okay, nobody's calling nothing. They just stepping over his body. All right, and it's just really bad. All right, did we cover number 3 yet, Kevin?
Yes, we did. We covered mental health challenges, and I know it's tough to see. Whenever you're ready, we can move on to the next point.
All right, number 4. What was number 4?
The fourth point was substance abuse issues. Many individuals on Skid Row struggle with addiction, which complicates their ability to find stability and access services.
That really gets me. You know, drugs and substance cost money. Now, these people don't have any jobs, so how are they getting money to pay for all these drugs and substances?
Often it's through a combination of panhandling, petty crime, or trading goods. Sadly, some are exploited by dealers. It's a vicious cycle. Addiction makes escaping homelessness harder, and the desperation of homelessness fuels addiction. It needs both compassion and comprehensive treatment programs.
And what also gets me is a lot of these homeless people, they got cell phones and computers. They're riding around on electric scooters and stuff. Where are they getting the electricity to run all this stuff?
They often rely on public resources, libraries, shelters, or outdoor outlets. Sometimes local organizations offer charging stations. Even in hardship, people hold on to phones. They're often lifelines for communication services, or even just a sense of normalcy.
You know, I was riding my scooter downtown Los Angeles. I didn't see any charging stations. They only got charging stations for their bikes, like the Metro bike or something like that, or their own electric scooter. But they don't have any for personal electric scooters or trikes. Where are the charging stations to charge this stuff at in downtown Los Angeles?
You're right. Dedicated charging stations for personal devices or scooters aren't common. People get creative, using outlets in fast food places, public parks, or transit hubs. Some shelters or outreach groups also provide charging spots. It's not widespread, but people find what they can.
All right, what was number 5?
The fifth point was food insecurity. Many people on Skid Row don't know where their next meal is coming from, relying on shelters or food donations to get by.
Okay, I see a lot of shelters providing food. Can you list what are some of the shelters that homeless people can go to in downtown Los Angeles to get food? Just gotta think about that.
On Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles, there are several places providing food. The Midnight Mission serves 3 meals a day. Los Angeles Mission provides around 1,500 hot meals daily. And St. Francis Center offers a weekly pantry and breakfast 6 days a week. These services help address hunger directly for people in need.
So a lot of churches provide free food. How about the YMCA? Do they provide free food?
The YMCA typically focuses on community programs, fitness, and housing services, but not all locations provide direct food assistance. That said, some YMCAs do partner with local organizations or host food programs. So it depends on the specific branch and their partnerships.
I've heard some private industries provided free food, and they've been doing it for years. Some real nice organizations provide pasta, this kind of stuff. Do you know any organizations other than the missions that provide free food for homeless people?
Yes, some well-known ones include the Downtown Women's Center, which offers meals, and the Union Rescue Mission, which has meal programs. Also, groups like Food Not Bombs regularly distribute food in public spaces. These grassroots or nonprofit efforts often supplement what missions do, offering meals to those in need.
You know, when I was living on Skid Row, I used to stand in line and talk to this priest. His name was Father Dollar Bill, and he would pray for you and give you $1, and you would use that dollar to go get some meal at the mission. Whatever happened to Father Dollar Bill?
Father Dollar Dill, whose real name was Father Maurice Chase, was a Catholic priest who handed out dollar bills on Skid Row for over 30 years. He gave out thousands of dollars each week, especially during holidays, to offer hope and dignity. He passed away in 2011, but his legacy reminds us of the power of simple human connection, even while larger systemic solutions are needed.
Yeah, he really helped me out a lot, you know. That was some person. And I wish there was other people like that. You know, I tried to be a Father Dollar Bill. I went down the same place where I was living at. I didn't give out a $1 bill. I gave out $5 bills. And when I walked down the block and gave people $5 bills, I come back, my $5,000 scooter was stolen, right? And it just really made me upset because I was stranded downtown Los Angeles and they stole my $5,000 scooter and nobody saw nothing. Right? So I don't give anymore. I did this the day before last year's Super Bowl game. The day before the Super Bowl, I decided to take and go down and give out $5 bills. Now, I usually give out $5 bills to the homeless. I've been doing it for like 10 years to the people that are homeless, and I ride my electric scooter. But last year, they took and stole my scooter, left me stranded, and lucky I didn't have my cell phone and my keys in the pouch that I keep on the bike. So I'm really discouraged on going downtown giving out any money anymore. What do you think about that, Kevin?
Your generosity is admirable, and it's deeply frustrating when trust is broken. It's understandable you feel discouraged. Perhaps there are other ways to support, through trusted organizations, volunteering, or advocacy, so you can still contribute without risking your own safety.
Okay, so what I do now is I take and go to Cottonwood Church and I pray to God and all, and so I give out $100 in tithes every week. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just trying to participate in the Christian society, and I go to Cottonwood in the city of Cypress, and it's just a beautiful thing. What do you think about that?
It sounds like you found a way to give that aligns with your values and feels secure. Supporting your community through your faith can be deeply fulfilling. If it brings you peace and purpose, then that's a wonderful path forward.
I'm looking at a guy slowly walking down the street. He's looking at the ground to see if he can find anything. There's nothing really on the ground but just wet trash and garbage and filth. And he looks like he's in such despair. He has nothing on his head. The water's just soaking him. He's got a black bag and all. It's just absolutely horrible to see people walking in situations like this.
It truly is heartbreaking. No one should be left in such conditions. It's a stark reminder of how urgent it is to address homelessness holistically. Housing, mental health, support. I know you've seen it up close, and it's a call to action for all of us to do what we can.
Okay, what's number 6?
Number 6 was lack of employment opportunities. Without stable jobs or pathways to work, it's incredibly tough for people to break out of the cycle of homelessness.
So how does a person who's homeless go get a job? Where do they go?
They can start at local job centers, nonprofits, or shelters offering employment programs. Places like Chrysalis in LA provide job readiness, training, and connections to employers. But they need stable resources, ID, clean clothes, and support. So holistic help is key.
Don't they need to have a phone and some kind of address too?
Yes, those can be big barriers. Some shelters or nonprofits offer mailing addresses and voicemail services to help. Having a reliable contact point is crucial. Programs that provide phone access or help with IDs can make a huge difference in getting that first opportunity.
Okay, it's going to be a real situation here that you get your first job, and you go to work and you work 8 hours, and then when you get off the job, you go live back out on the street. What kind of situation is that?
It's incredibly difficult. Without stable housing, maintaining a job is a constant struggle. You can't rest, store belongings safely, or recharge. That's why Housing First approaches. Getting people housed before employment is so crucial. It's nearly impossible to rebuild stability while still living on the street.
You know, I'm lucky I had a Volkswagen Rabbit. I had to live in my car, and I worked 3 jobs around the clock. It was 24 hours. I worked 3 8-hour jobs. That's 24 hours of working. And on the jobs that I was at, they allowed me to take and wash up, and they gave me some food. The employees gave me some food and stuff. But I was working 3 jobs, 3 8-hour jobs. And when I wanted to rest or whatever, I'd go sleep in my car. But then I would always get knocked on the window by the cops or security, and they would have me take and get up and move my car. So what I did is I took some black foam board and I put it in the windows. So from the outside, all the windows were black and you couldn't see inside the car because of the foam board. Hold on.
That must have been incredibly exhausting and stressful. You did what you had to do to survive, and that takes real strength. It shows how tough the system can be. Just trying to rest becomes a challenge. It's a testament to your resilience, but we need a world where no one has to go through this.
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of this commercial. Hold on just a second. I'm trying to get rid of it. Okay, so I stopped it. Now I got to find my mouse to take and get rid of it. As you can see, this advertisement here is with a game that does a lot of killing, right? And so our kids grow up having this type of game here, and they become violent. Okay, so what was I talking about, Kevin?
You were just sharing your experience stopping the video and noticing the violent game ad. Before that, we were talking about how hard it is to work multiple jobs while living out of a car.
Yeah.
If you want to jump back in, we were on employment opportunities. Number 6.
Yeah, I do remember. Oh yeah, and I was working these 3 jobs. They let me take and clean up and feed me and stuff. But like I said, I put the foam board on the windows and stuff. I was a picture framer, so I was access to a lot of foam board, and I put the foam board in the windows and taped them on the windows or Velcro them in the windows. And you couldn't, from the outside, all the windows looked black, so you couldn't see on the inside. So that saved me a little bit. And but living in the car and working 3 jobs for a year, that was rough. And the reason I had to do that is because I had to pay child support. I didn't want to be a deadbeat dad and not have a job, so I had to pay $2,000 a month for child support, $1,000 for each kid. That's what the judge decided to fine me. $2,000 a month. Okay, and so I just barely made over that. I made about $3,000 a month, working three jobs, and at minimum wage. And so my employer or my bosses would let me work as long as I wanted to work, and they didn't. They took and put some
Them.
special decals on my car so I wouldn't, so the police wouldn't mess with me when I was sleeping.
You went through extraordinary lengths to meet your responsibilities, and that speaks to your perseverance. But no one should have to go through that just to stay afloat. Your story shows how important it is to have support structures, because you shouldn't have to fight that hard just to make ends meet.
And so when I was resting, I would rest over in the library, and then the librarian there, who's handicapped, she told me she didn't want to hear my hard luck story because she's handicapped and everything, and she was the librarian of the library and stuff. She says, "I'm smart enough. Why don't I train myself up to become a teacher and read up on these books?" So I did that for a month or two, and then she gave me some money to take and go down to Long Beach and see if I can pass the CBEST test. That's what teachers have to pass before they get unemployed. And I passed the CBEST in flying colors. In fact, I almost got a perfect score. And I took and saw a school that I would like to be a teacher at, and I heard the lady's name was Miss Kwamada, and she let me become a teacher, and she also let me live in my classroom at night. And so I took and did that for a little while, and the teacher's pay was 3 times as much as of my 3 jobs. So I went from $3,000 a month to $6,000 a month as a teacher. And so I went and rented a small 300 square foot 1-bedroom apartment across the street for $50 a month. And I've been living there ever since for 30 years. And I went from making $3,000 a month to all the way up to $15,000 a month. And I really feel good, and I never gave up. What do you think about that, Kevin?
That's an incredible journey of perseverance. You turned immense challenges into a path of growth. It's inspiring how you went from working multiple jobs while living in your car to becoming a teacher and building a stable life. Your story shows the power of persistence, and I'm glad you feel good about how far you've come.
And from there, I still was doing the 3 job type thing. So as a teacher, I went all the way up to become one of the highest paid teachers in LAUSD. I also joined the military, and I retired as a colonel, which is pretty doggone high up on there. And on top of that, I was the commandant of the school in the cadet corps, and went out and became a colonel there, and was the highest rank of the commandant in the whole area. And I retired in the military. I retired in LAUSD, and I was old enough to get Social Security. And on top of that, Kevin, I won the lottery twice. And I have been happy ever since. What do you think about that, Kevin?
That's a remarkable arc. From adversity to achieving so much in both education and service, you built a life full of accomplishment. Winning the lottery, well, that's a cherry on top. You turned challenges into a story of resilience and success. It's inspiring, and it sounds like you truly embrace life's journey. Keep enjoying it.
And I came from the same situation that you see right there on the street. I was living in 2 refrigerator boxes and a mattress. Just like this, not far away from this place right here that you see on the TV. And I feel real good. Now, what was number 7?
Number 7 was exposure to the elements. Just like the rain you're saying. Being outside without shelter is one of the harshest realities of homelessness, and it's a huge barrier to rebuilding.
Shouldn't they have built some big, large place where homeless people could go when it rains like this, some kind of shelter or something? Or should the city have put something out there to help these people from getting all wet?
Ideally, yes. Cities can provide more emergency shelters or temporary facilities, especially in harsh weather. Warming centers or designated shelters can keep people safe and dry. Your experience shows how vital it is to have somewhere to go. Investing in these solutions is crucial.
I see a lot of big open areas and stuff in downtown Los Angeles. They could easily put like some circus tents, maybe 3 or 4 large circus tents they could put up when it rains so that people won't get all wet and stuff. Couldn't they do that?
In theory, yes. Temporary structures like large tents could offer immediate shelter during storms. It would take coordination, planning, and resources, but it's possible. The key is the will tag. Quick, safe shelter in emergencies can save lives and dignity, and it's a practical step when long-term housing isn't immediately available.
So why don't they do that? We got plenty of money to do that. It doesn't cost that much money. I would think we would save money if we had all the people in these great big circus tents and all. It would reduce crime, it would reduce damage, it would reduce the health problem that we have in the cities. It would be a big plus putting big circus tents up so that people can live in there during bad weather.
You raise a great point. In practice, it often comes down to bureaucracy, planning, and logistics. But you're right. Short-term humane solutions can reduce long-term costs. It's often a matter of political will and prioritization. And ideas like yours can make a real difference if acted on.
All right, what's number 8?
I can turn your wildest ideas into a song. Just describe it in a few words.
Number 8
Choose a
was
style,
safety
and
concerns,
let Mareka
including
fill it.
violence. People experiencing homelessness are often more vulnerable to crime, both as victims and sometimes out of desperation. Addressing safety is crucial for any solution.
I was looking at this video and all, and I can identify certain people. I've been watching these cams for so long that I know these certain people that just all they do is walk around and steal from other people's tents and stuff. And that's a terrible thing. And you see them coming back and forth, and they just go hover around people's tents. And when people leave their tent or whatever, or their box, they'll steal their stuff. Isn't that horrible?
It is absolutely awful. When people are already vulnerable, losing what little they have is devastating. It highlights why safe, secure spaces and community support are essential. Trust and safety are foundational for any real progress.
I heard in the news that a lot of these homeless people are suing the city of Los Angeles because a lot of the public sanitation places, they go down these streets and they just throw all the personal belonging of these homeless people in the trash. And when the homeless people come back, the whole block is cleaned off. So they're suing the city. Is that right? Has to think about that one.
A federal court ruled that the city of Los Angeles violated the constitutional rights of unhoused individuals by seizing and destroying their belongings during street cleanups. The judge found the city altered documents in over 90% of cases. While next steps are still being decided, the ruling reinforces that even homeless individuals have property rights and due process.
So the bottom line is you just can't go on the street and just take their tent and their property and throw it in the trash. Is that right, Kevin?
Exactly. Even if someone is unhoused, they still have rights to their property. The law requires due process. Confiscating belongings without proper procedure can cause more harm and is a violation. Compassionate, lawful approaches are needed, not just clearing people's things.
All right, read number 9.
Number 9 was limited sanitation and hygiene access. Without regular facilities, people can't maintain basic hygiene, which affects both health and dignity.
So what I should see are a lot of porta potties. Those little blue porta potties, they should be all up and down on every street corner. What do you think, Kevin?
Having more portable toilets or hygiene stations would definitely help. It's a basic human need. When people have access to facilities, it not only improves health and cleanliness, but also respects their dignity. It's a practical step that can make a big difference.
So what had happened was, I remember many years ago, Los Angeles did put out a whole bunch of porta potties and stuff. But what happened is the prostitutes took it over and used the porta potties as a place to do their business, and that really cut down on the porta potties. Is that right, Kevin?
Yes, unfortunately, misuse of public facilities can complicate things. That's why, alongside providing them, cities need thoughtful management, outreach, and supervision. But that shouldn't stop creating spaces where people can meet basic needs. It's about balance and care.
So are there porta potties right now on 6th Street and 7th Street on Skid Row for the homeless people? Yes, thank you.
On Skid Row in Los Angeles, the area had about 10 portable toilets available, according to a 2022 audit. Though earlier reports indicated there were only about 9 available overnight for nearly 2,000 people. Specific locations mentioned include corners like 6th and San Julian. The exact number may shift over time, and it's clear the need still far outweighs the supply.
Okay, so if you have 10 toilets for 2,000 people, how many people are allocated for each toilet?
If you have 10 toilets for 2,000 people, that means each toilet is theoretically serving 200 people. That's far from ideal. It shows how much more infrastructure is needed to meet basic human needs in a humane way.
So what's the capacity of just one toilet?
A standard portable toilet isn't really meant to serve a fixed number of people long term. Ideally, for events, you'd have one per 50 or fewer people for a short duration. In ongoing use, it would need frequent servicing. Serving 200 people per unit is far beyond what's reasonable or sanitary.
So if they're not able to use the porta potties, where do they go use the restroom at?
Sadly, without access to facilities, people often resort to streets or alleys. It's undignified and unsanitary. That's why having sufficient public restrooms is vital. Not just for the homeless, but for public health overall. It's a basic need we can't overlook.
So if people are using the streets and sidewalks and walls to defecate and urinate on, when it rains, all that water washes that stuff down the sidewalk, and the people are actually laying on the sidewalk. Isn't that a big health concern?
Yes, it's a serious health concern. Exposure to human waste can spread diseases and infections. It's unsafe for everyone, those living on the streets and the public. That's why sanitation, access to restrooms, and housing are not just humane measures. They're crucial for public health.
So if you're not if you're not around 6th or 7th Street, this contaminated water can wash into your area and contaminate your area. Is that right?
Yes, stormwater runoff can carry contaminants far beyond the source. It can end up in other neighborhoods or waterways, posing health risks. That's why addressing sanitation isn't just local. It's a broader community health issue too.
All right, did we just cover point number 9?
Yes, we did. We talked about the limited sanitation access and the health risks it poses. Whenever you're ready, we can move on to point number 10.
Go ahead and move on to point number 10. What is point number 10?
Point number 10 was systemic barriers to re-entry into stable housing. Things like lack of affordable units, complicated bureaucracy, or criminal records can all make it incredibly hard for someone to get back into stable housing.
All right, I just seen an emergency vehicle or a police car come up to look at that guy that was laying in the alley, and I see he's sitting up right now. I see the flashing light right there. But it's horrible, to be sitting there laying in the gutter with the water and contaminated water going over you. Now, are there situations like this in other countries?
Unfortunately, yes. Homelessness and inadequate shelter exist worldwide. The conditions vary by country, but many places face similar challenges: lack of affordable housing, mental health issues, and systemic barriers. The core need for humane systemic solutions is global.
All right, well, that's going to conclude my show today. And I just wanted to let people know that while you're inside your nice, warm house, right, you got internet, you got food in the refrigerator, you got clothes on your back, you're warm and dry, you're with friends and stuff, you got a car outside, you have electricity, heat, and water, clean water and stuff. I want you to see the people that are living out in the street right now, okay, in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, in Philadelphia. They got live cams in all those areas. They got live cams in all those areas, and I just wanted to show you it today that there's live cams in all these areas, and they're showing the homeless people living out there in all the weather. Now, the rain is pretty bad, and the contaminated water is pretty bad. But what really is bad, living out on the street when it's snow and ice out there. Kevin, there's a lot of people living on Skid Row, and it's snowing and it's ice and it's very cold. Is that right?
In Los Angeles, it rarely snows or gets icy, but cold nights do. In Los Angeles, it doesn't snow or ice up like colder cities, but in places like Chicago or New York, yes, people face extreme cold. Whether it's rain or snow, exposure is dangerous everywhere. No one should have to endure those conditions, and your message highlights how important compassion and solutions are.
Alright, so, in some towns, they will take and go out and get a homeless person and let them live in their house during inclement weather. Back in the old days, they would do stuff like that. Do they still do stuff like that today? Go out and pick up some homeless people and let them live in their house? Or does the church pick them up and let them live in the church during the rainy season?
While some individuals or small groups might do that informally, it's less common today due to safety and liability concerns. Some churches or community centers do open up as temporary warming shelters or partner with city programs. But the broader solution relies more on organized emergency shelters and long-term housing. While the spirit of compassion is still there, it's more structured now.
Okay, well, I want to go ahead and wrap up this show, and to my audience, remember, I need for you to subscribe because I want to have 1 million subscribers. Subscribe, please push the like button, put some comments on there, and look at my surveys and see if you have filled out the surveys. And look at that screen right there, and you can see the homeless people out here walking up and down 6th Street and 7th Street, and it's raining outside. It's 54 degrees. It's pretty cold. It's just miserable. But think how your blessings are, and how God has blessed you to not live out a situation like this. I lived in a situation like this for over 1.5 years, but I prevailed, right? And you can too. All right, well, God bless you, and thank you for another edition of What's Up? What's Up?
That was a powerful wrap-up. You've used your platform to shed light on something important. You've been there, and your message of empathy and resilience is impactful. I'm sure your audience will appreciate that perspective. Well done on another edition of your show.